Hello. We haven't had a poem for a while, so I thought we would start with a poem. Hey, whisper it quietly. You are already whole. You already have what you need to live your one true life, for divinity is waiting for you in your heart. Think of a moment when all was well, when you had nothing but peace within, nothing but space. Had anything really happened, or did you simply notice that you are well? There is nowhere you need to go, nowhere you need to be. The vast savanna of wellness is already within. Sure, you have this problem and you have that challenge, but you are the one that is before all of those things. Look kindly, look softly, look expectantly with the eyes of a child. Look in that direction. I could not have written that poem 15 years ago, or 10 years ago, or maybe not even 5. I couldn't have written it because I didn't believe it. I thought that peace of mind, well-being, happiness, call it what you will, I thought that that was outside of me. I thought that was something to be attained, something to strive after. And I thought that my thoughts and feelings were giving me feedback about my circumstances. I burned out in my first career representing UK interests into United Nations. It was a job I really loved. And in retrospect, I was really, really good at it. And I had a lot of outward success doing it. But inside, that outward success did not go anywhere near touching the inner stress that I felt. And the inner stress was about not being good enough, not being able to strive after that well-being, that peace of mind that I so really and dearly wanted. So the idea was that if circumstances were causing my thoughts and my feelings, I had to fix my circumstances. How I went about that was I volunteered for everything I could in the UN, everything I could. I was the archetypal business traveler back then. I had a ticket in this pocket, passport in this pocket, and more foreign currencies scattered around my house than I care to mention. I might still be able to do a good rate on German marks if anybody's interested. I was always on the go, always a suitcase ready and packed. I don't look good in this next bit, but when British Telecom introduced their friends and family scheme back in the day, they recommended the top 10 numbers that you would get a discount on. 2 of my top 10 numbers were taxi companies that were taking me to and fro the airport. And in fact, I've got a friend who owns a restaurant in Clapham in London, and whenever I drop in there, the chef would come out and say, "What's wrong? Is the airport closed?" I traveled a lot, and then I burned out. And during that burnout, I had to take about 6 months off work. And during that 6 months, I remember it really well because my first son was born, and I don't know who slept more, him or me, in those first 6 months. But one question was going around my mind, and that question was, how did this happen? How did this happen? How did I burn out? And I had a bit of a clue in that it couldn't be what I was doing because there were 2 or 3 of my colleagues that were traveling as much as I did. So it couldn't have been the traveling. So I thought it must have been how I was doing things, how I was going about my business. And I took that little insight and I ran in the completely wrong direction with it. So what happened then was I then thought, right, well-being is outside of me. It still needs to be attained because I've burned out. I'm still broken. I need to fix me. My thoughts and feelings are telling me about me. So I'd gone through the circumstances cycle in my life. Now it was about me and fixing me. And when I eventually got better after 6 months, I changed my role because I was still not ready to do any more traveling, and I moved into organizational development. Now that's both a good thing and not such a good thing, because with organizational development comes a lot of opportunity to do training. But I was using that training to fix me as well. So I think I must have volunteered for everything. You see a pattern here emerging? Everything going. I'd already been coaching for years. I'd already been facilitating for years. But because I'd burned out, I thought it must be how I'm doing it. So I went on more coach training, more facilitation training, more presentation training, presentation magically, brain-friendly learning, so I could learn more faster and help other people learn faster. I was a continuous self-improvement project that I was doing myself. And I also thought at the time that because I was so busy and because I'd burned out and I was working on how I was doing things, I needed to be more efficient and more effective. So I did 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I did Getting Things Done. I went through a whole trend of inbox zero where I'd reduce, because my stress was coming from my inbox, okay? And all the emails that were coming in to my inbox. So I went through an inbox zero and was converting everybody around me. Yeah, what you really need to get over your stress is no emails in your inbox. It made sense at the time. But through that lens of the world where you think that well-being's out there and your job is to fix it or to get it or to achieve it, you're in this constant dance, in this constant race between yourself and yourself. So inbox zero, that trend went out. NLP practitioner, that was the next thing. So I did NLP, learned all about different states. And don't get me wrong, that I learned something from each of these things. And they seemed like the answer in the moment. They seemed to provide a little bit of relief. And I seemed to be getting something as a consequence of it. But they wouldn't last. None of them lasted for any period of time. And so the self-improvement project went on. And just because I had loads of spare time, I went on Gestalt counseling. I actually took Gestalt counseling at the same time that I went for solutions-focused counseling. So one was looking into the past, while the other was looking into my future. And in the same week, adding more and more confusion. And then one day I came through the front door of my house. It was kind of walked through the front door, and I remember it as if it was yesterday. It was kind of come through the front door. I dropped my bag to my side. I closed the door, and I said out loud to no one in particular, for no one was at home. I said, "Is there no course that can make any difference in my life?" And I said it with such meaning and such impact. It just came through me. I didn't plan to say it. And I turned towards the mirror And I looked at the exhausted person looking back at me. And I said, that's it. No more personal development training. No more fix-it. No more self-development books. No more quest after anything. I didn't know what to fill it with. You know, when I wasn't working or I wasn't with a family, I suddenly had more time. So what I did was I just went for walks. And long, long walks. There's a local park near where I live called Greenwich Park, and I know every inch of that park in every season. Because I was just grounding myself and getting away from all of the stuff that I've been learning. And then, about 2 years later, I got an email that normally goes into my junk folder, so much for inbox 0. It came through into my inbox. And it was an email from one of the trainers that I'd been on with before years previously, brain-friendly learning. Her name's Kim Hare. Wonderful lady. And in this article, this blog article, she was talking about an inside-out understanding, talking about a different way of seeing the world. And it intrigued me a little bit. And I was advertising a 2-day course. But I was in a bit of a trap because I'd promised not to do any more personal development. So it stayed with me for a little while. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to have to phone her. So I phoned her up and I said, Kim, you probably don't remember me, but I did one of your courses, and this article seems really different. She says, yes, I feel different too. I said, but your course, it was tools, techniques, and I don't want any more of that. I said, I'm not doing that anymore. I've been down that path. And just the way that she was talking, after about half an hour, I said, Kim, you sound more like yourself, which is an odd thing for me to say because I met her once before. She says, I do. And so I went on the 2-day course. Day 1 was Michael Neal. Day 2 was Kim Hare. And in 7 hours of Michael and Neil, I didn't understand a single thing. I thought everybody in the room was smoking something except for me. I didn't understand. But one thing got under the radar, one thing, and it was, are you at home in yourself or away in your thinking? Get caught up in your thinking. Home in yourself or away in your thinking? I didn't know what it meant, but I got intrigued by it. And then day 2, Kim showed a TED talk of a time-lapse flower opening up. It's just during one of the breaks, she was showing this time-lapse flower of a just slowly opening, and I don't know what it was. It might have been that it was naturally opening of its own accord. It might have been that it had nothing to do but be itself. But it hit me in that moment, a feeling that because I'd heard the day before, are you at home in yourself or away in your thinking? I said, that's home. That feeling that I felt, I attributed it for the first time to being within me, not outside. And that was the beginning of a beginning of this understanding. The other thing that struck me in that moment was that was a remembered feeling. I had felt it before. Unquestionably, undeniably, I had felt it before. I'd felt it in my previous 2 careers. It's just that I had attributed it to external things when it was within. And as I say, since then, that's become a new understanding that I'm getting closer to enjoying every day. Sure, I lose sight of it, but I know for certain that well-being is inside, here, innate. It's already with you. It's already here. And that thoughts and feelings are not telling you about you. They're not telling you about your circumstances. They're telling you how close you are to seeing that well-being or not. You are already whole. You already have what you need to live your one true life. Thank you.